Hey Student Success, it is a video for Wednesday, April 22nd. This is week 14 of the semester. So our class goes until week 16 because we're a one-day-a-week class originally. So we still have two more videos, two more classes, which I'll probably end up opening them early so that you can get done with everything early if you choose to do so. Okay, so as a reminder, last week's video, we'll go back into the lessons here. In week 13 on the 15th, we went over chapter 9, and due tonight, which is Wednesday, April 2nd, scroll down here, in week 13, you were submitting 2 assignments to me, and this counts for your week 13 attendance. It is your exercise 9.2. If you remember, that is the kind of little survey you take first, and then based on your survey results, you answer these 3 questions, and then your number 7 journal over chapter 9. Those are the 2 assignments that are due tonight, Wednesday, April 22nd, and they help me take week 13 attendance. So for today's video, in week 14, keep scrolling way too quickly. In week 14, we cover chapter 3. So I'm going to go over a few things in chapter 3, and then you'll see you have 2 assignments that'll be due next week. So let me bring up the chapter 3 PowerPoint here. So this is all about like your learning styles and your studying styles, and hopefully you can see that this is obviously going to connect and relate to you because this is what you'll do as a college student throughout your entire career. And then I would even venture to say after you're in your career, you still need to be aware of how you learn and how you study because you will still be put in the situations as you are learning different things in your career or have to keep up with information in your field. That's all still going to play a part. So there is a focus study on Tammy Coe that talks about learning styles and studying, which will come into play with the journal entry later. So the point of chapter 3 is talking about how you just need to know how you operate, essentially. It's best to know how you operate. So it talks first, it kind of introduces like you need to have the right conditions for learning. So you need to be relaxed, and it says appropriately stressed. So let me focus on that, like appropriately stressed. Stress is actually not always a bad thing. Good amounts of stress can help us stay focused. It can allow us to know that something's important. It can allow us to really try to hone in. Now, when we become too stressed, which a lot of us are right now during this time, that's when it starts to be more negative and it can be more harmful. So appropriate amount of stress is okay, but we still need to feel still a little bit of that relaxation kicking in. We need to be motivated to learn. We have to be curious. So those are some really great conditions for learning to begin with. So continued with that, you have to kind of be involved. You have to have, you have to care about what you're learning. And you have to kind of build and know that like learning is a process in which you have to constantly be constructing new information and new knowledge. And then how you are, you're given a degree of choice. By that, they mean, yes, you have a major, and so you are choosing your major. And so to an extent, you have choice over what you're learning. And then in some cases, you may be forced to take certain classes, but you still have a choice on kind of how you approach that material and the atmosphere that you set yourself up for when you learn that information. So then again, because this chapter talks about like learning styles, it wants to know how you are smart. And there's different learning intelligences, different kinds of ways to be intelligent. If we were sitting together in the classroom right now, I would have us actually complete a quick learning style like assessment, in this case a multiple intelligence assessment. If you're interested, it is exercise 3.2 in your textbook, and it's a multiple intelligence self-assessment, and it's just like 2.5 pages. It's fairly quick, and you basically just kind of check, this sounds like me, this sounds like me, and then you'll eventually get a result that connects you to one of these, and it'll just tell you a little bit more about like, what does that mean? If I'm this kind of learner, what are some tips and hints I can use? And this is kind of the page in your textbook that connects to those results. So it's helpful to know, how are you smart? I would definitely put myself in the kind of linguistic area. I like, words and verbiage and things like that. And then I also say I'm pretty good when it comes to interpersonal. That's why I'm in the field of teaching. Now, some of you may be more like spatial and logical, mathematical. It just kind of depends on your styles. And that does make it should anyway, have a role in the career that you are choosing. So I would just encourage you to take a look at that because it does impact, how we approach things. Now, again, and this is more learning style related, VARK. And if you've never taken this before, and I'm having trouble recalling if we did this in class, but I'm going to bring it up just in case. There is the website VARK, and I just go to vark-learn.com, and it'll take me to this page right here. And if I scroll down just a little bit, what is your learning preference? There's a series of questions, and you would just kind of check one, no more than two, I would say. It says, limit it to one, but sometimes I know it could apply to more than one situation. So you read each situation, you're like, okay, this sounds like me, this sounds like me, and so on. And then eventually you'll hit okay, and it'll give you a list of your results, and it'll tell you what kind of learner you are. And so for me, I already know that I'm a read-write learner. So I would get my results, and then it would give me some strategies. Here are some things to do. This is what it means if you have this kind of preference. Here's how you should take in information. Here's how you can present it. So it gives you lots of tips and information both in education and in the workplace. So if you already know maybe what kind of learner you are, you could always still go to this page and just go down to the strategies to kind of help you maybe learn some ways to be more effective in your study time. So using your preferences can help you kind of pay attention of how to study as well as how not to study, and then so just make some more positive choices. So that's what it'll talk about throughout kind of this chapter is different ways, and you'll see a couple of slides here on your screen, and if you want to download the PowerPoint on your own or look at it in the text, there's different exam study strategies, preparation strategies. So it's kind of worth looking over if you don't know, or even if you do know, especially just refreshing your memory on how those can help you. And then our chapter 3 also goes into personality, because our personalities make a difference in how we learn and what we learn. Are we more of an introvert or extrovert? Are we more like a thinker or a feeler? So all of those play a role in our learning as well. So using your personality, that you can capitalize on how you are personally to try to make more, advantages with your studying. And then we also talk about metacognition. And metacognition is kind of like thinking about thinking. So knowing who you are as a learner is part of metacognition, and then being aware of your learning processes. So as you are studying and kind of okay, is this going well? Am I understanding this? What else should I be doing? Or no, I really don't know what's going on. I should stop and go back and reread. So just being aware of all those things and being aware of your learning style, of your intelligences, of your personality, whatever it might be. Just all of that goes into that metacognition. And this goes into more, again, of that learning and that study style. And then chapter 3 also will give you some tips on how to come up with a study plan. Sometimes, and a lot of you have mentioned, you struggle with time management, or you struggle with just making sure you study enough. So chapter 3 will go through kind of suggestions on how to make a study plan so that you can get the most out of your study time and be efficient with that. And then as well as if anyone is a crammer, this kind of touches on this. Cram, but only as a last resort, because although a lot of people will say cramming works for them, they cram and then they do well in the test, long term, it usually does not work. If you're cramming the night before and you do well in the test, that's great, but a lot of research will say, okay, it's not going to support your long-term learning. It's not going to do anything for you if you need to recall the information a few weeks later. So just making sure that you're kind of paying attention to how you study and the purpose of that. So that's kind of the gist of chapter 3. So I would really highly recommend reading, going into more depth with that, paying more attention to any of those areas that you think you need to look at that might help you. And there's that VARK survey again. Okay, so for chapter 3 then, for week 14, you see that you have 2 assignments. So we'll go into the assignment folder. You have a how well do you study, which is similar kind of to a couple assignments we've seen already. You'll click on it and it'll open up and it's going to talk to you real quick.
Good study skills are essential.
And you're basically just going to let it play through, and it's going to ask you questions throughout. And as long as you let it run to the very last little bit of the last slide, audio and everything, it'll submit to me in Blackboard. I will be able to see that you completed it. The only time I don't see that, some of you will click in and then you'll only get some of it done, or you'll close out of it too quickly and it'll still say in progress on my end, and I won't see that you have it done. So that's the first assignment you're doing. Do you know how to study? And it'll give you some results, and that'll automatically be graded. The second thing is your Chapter 8 journal. Chapter 3 journal. Journal number 8. There we go. So Chapter 3 journal. So again, hopefully by now you know exactly how this works. Insight or action. If you are going to choose the insight part, you'll go back and you'll look, kind of flipping through my physical textbook here. You'll go back to the focus case on Tammy Coe, and it talks about her challenges. And again, it's going to ask, like, how would you end her case study? What are some possible outcomes for her? And that's usually just real straightforward 5 to 8 sentences, paragraph. Now, if you do the action, there are 3 questions at the chapter review. 3 questions, and this is where, in 5 to 8 sentences, each question might be responded in 2 sentences or so. So you're still getting your 5 to 8 sentences in length, just broken up in, questions 1, 2, and 3. So you'll do that. And again, depending on how you prefer, you go in, you can type your submission right in there, or you can upload it from a Word document, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay, so as a reminder, due tonight, Wednesday, April 22nd, is the work you had from week 13, the exercise 9.2 on memory, and your journal over chapter 9. And then due next week, April 29th, is your week 14 work. And that will be your chapter 3 journal and your how well do you study survey. So those are coming due, and that'll help me take attendance for week 14. And then, as I mentioned, I will probably start opening these folders for week 15 and 16, probably a little early, just in case you want to get it done early. All right, hope everyone's doing well. Talk to you later. Bye.